My brothers and sisters in Christ, I would like to start by asking you a question. If you could meet anyone at all, who would that be?
Actually, the person that I would like to meet is my brother Felix. And 9 months ago, my brother Felix got operated for cancer as well, but he survived it. And I haven't seen him or met him since his operation.
I would like to see the Pope.
I'd like to meet the Queen because she's very famous and important to our country.
I'd like to meet Blessed Mother Teresa because her mission in life was to love and help the needs of the poorest of the poorest.
I would like to meet the Canadian General, the War of 1812, because I really like history.
Jim Carrey, because he's a funny actor.
I'd like to meet Dr. Jigoro Kano. He was a little Japanese gentleman that developed the sport and martial art of judo. I'd like to discuss with him the moral code of judo, which includes things like politeness, courtesy, sincerity, honor, modesty, respect, self-control, and friendship.
Now, imagine if you got an invitation from that person. Let us say to have dinner with them, or to go out for coffee, or to visit them in their home. How would you feel? Would you be excited? I think I would be. Now, I have a second question. What if you could meet the greatest teacher that the world has ever known? In today's Gospel, we hear the story of Bartholomeus, a blind man asking to meet Jesus with the hope of having his sight. This is a wonderful story that is filled with many wonderful lessons. However, I think it has two messages that are especially relevant to what we do as a church. The first lesson comes from a very short sentence that came not from Jesus, but from the mouth of his followers. They said to Bartholomeus, "He is calling you." He is calling you. This is the fundamental mission of the church, to inform the world that he is calling you. It is a reminder that we are about making new and better Christians, persons who are followers of Christ. For some, this is a matter of bringing Christ into their lives, possibly for the first time. For others, like you and I, it is a matter of enriching our relationships with Christ and becoming better Christians. It is amazing how these four simple words can mean so much for you, for me, for our church. For Bartholomeus, these words were the invitation to meet that special person that he wanted to meet. He was excited. He threw off his cloak and went to Jesus as fast as he could. I wonder if we would be as excited. The question for us is, how does this apply to us here in the Diocese of Prince Albert in 2012? What must we do to make this call exciting? In this month of October, we began the Year of Faith, which celebrates also the 50th anniversary of Vatican II and the 20th anniversary of the Catechism of the Catholic Church. The Year of Faith focuses on the new evangelization. In the Vatican II documents, this is referred as the universal call to holiness. What is this call to holiness? It is an invitation. It is an invitation to follow Christ, to live as Jesus taught us, both in words and example. It is an invitation not only to meet him, it is an invitation to have a relationship with him, to be part of his family, the people of God. The question we should be asking ourselves now is why? Why should we accept this invitation? There are two very important reasons. First of all, because God is real. Yes, even very real. This invitation is the first step on a journey in a relationship with God. The job of the Christian church, our mission, is to transform the world so that everybody in this world of ours has a chance to live, to love, and to be. To live according to what we have been taught by the words and the examples of Jesus. To love. When you truly love somebody, you suddenly love them more than you love yourself. You desire the well-being of the beloved more than the well-being of yourself. And to be everything that God has created us to be. And the more deeply we live, love, and be, the more we experience the reality of God. Secondly, if you think about it very carefully, you will quickly come to realize, if you are holy, if you live, love, and be as Jesus taught us, you cannot be unhappy. Unhappiness comes from when we expect something and we don't get it. But holiness is about expecting nothing at all. When God created the world and gave it to us, He did not sit back and say, okay, this is what I want in return. He did not hand us an invoice or an IOU. He looked at all what He has created and He said, this is good. This is very good. And then He offered it all to us, no strings attached. God gave us everything, including His Son, because He loves us. Yes, He did ask people to follow Him and to love Him and to love each other. But those are not conditions for getting the gifts. We get His gifts regardless. As Jesus said to His apostles in the Gospel of Matthew, without cost you have received. Without cost you must give. Our secular world, and more specifically the materialistic or commercial world in which we live in, does not want us to be happy. If we are happy, they will not be able to sell us their product. So they want us to be unhappy so that they may sell what they want to sell us. God, on the other hand, wants us to be happy. This is why He is calling us to holiness, just like they said to Bartholomeus. He is calling you. When you think about evangelization, making new and better Christians, we are talking about getting people, first of all, to see Christ, and then to see Him more clearly as we live our lives. We are talking about both restoring sight and then improving it. However, and because we are dealing with unique individuals, the approach we use will need to vary. That there are a number of different types of blindness. There is a blindness, for example, where everything is distorted. Everything has a different shape. There is another blindness where we can only see a small amount either on the edge or in the middle. Now we may ask, what the heck does this have to do with evangelization or with the call to holiness? There is, for example, a type of blindness that I call sleep blindness. The cure for this is simple. Our sight needs to be awakened. Recently, you have seen a commercial on television advertising Saskatchewan as a tourist attraction. It shows the beautiful lakes of the parklands and the activities that take place there. It shows the rolling hills of the north, some of the historical and cultural sites, the industries of the province, like the world-famous synchrotron, and then they are the skies, the beautiful Saskatchewan skies. What I have found very interesting about this commercial is the number of people who did not realize that all this existed in Saskatchewan. The commercial awakened them to things in Saskatchewan they did not know about. For many Christians, their relationship with Christ is the same. It is limited to something that happens for an hour on Sundays. They do not see the beauty and joy that comes from better understanding of our faith and living our faith in everything we do. For them, we need something like this commercial that will awaken them and us to the fullness of that faith. There are also many whose vision of their faith is blocked. Something is standing in the way of seeing the truth. In the case of religious faith, one of the big blockers is money. Have you ever heard about Daniel Suelo? He is a man who 12 years ago made the decision that he would no longer be a slave to money and gave it all up. He explains his decision by reflecting on an episode of Gilligan's Island.
When I was a kid, I used to like to watch Gilligan's Island, and there was one episode where they find this native, and there's Mr. Howell, the rich man. He has this roll of money with a rubber band around it, and he gives it to this native, trying to bribe him. And the native takes the roll of money, takes the rubber band off, throws the money away, and starts playing with the rubber band. And we think of the native as the foolish one, the naive one, but he was the one that was seeing with the eyes of reality.
What we continue to ignore is that we can't eat money. In many cases, the same applies to our faith. We are more concerned with what the good news is rather than how it nourishes us, how it energizes how we live. I hope you can see from these short examples that the church has a big challenge facing it when it comes to the new evangelization. Each of these vision impairments will require a different approach. What can we do? How do we approach people with this special gift of opening their eyes to God? I have a few suggestions. I think we start by asking ourselves a simple question. Am I being the gift to others that God created me to be? Is life flowing from me? Is joy coming from me? Is a welcome coming from me? These are good fruits that God gave us freely to share with others. Is it in your heart to serve God? Secondly, we must live what we believe. Gandhi once said, "You should be the change that you want to see in the world." But I think we have even more profound role. When you think about it, strangers have played a major role in our faith. For example, Abraham and his wife Sarah were in a tent in the desert, and all of a sudden, 3 strange people appear to them. The Annunciation, where Gabriel appears, has a stranger to Mary. In these cases, they were welcomed, and in each case, we are reminded that nothing is impossible for God. In today's gospel, it is not Jesus that brings the message to Bartholomeus. It is strangers. In today's world, the role of stranger belongs to us, you and me. We are the strangers that need to accept the message that nothing is impossible for God, and then to bring that message to others, both with our words and our actions. We, as Gandhi said, need to be the change that we want to see in the world. I am often asked, what happens to the money that you give so generously to the Bishop's Appeal? I'm here to tell you that for the next few years, it will be directed in every way possible to letting people know through the programs it supports that He is calling you. He is calling you to holiness and happiness. For the support you have given in the past, and for what I know will be your continued support, I say thank you very much. May God bless you.
Lord, teach me your ways, lead me into the depths of your heart, for you alone, Lord, can show me how to love. Lord, teach me your ways, lead me into the depths of your heart, for you alone, Lord, can show me how to love. I could give all I have to the poor, sacrifice my whole life, but if I have not love, I gain